Okay, good morning to everybody. It's my pleasure today to host again our guest, Professor Azis Pollozhani, rector of the Mother Teresa University of Skopje in Republic of Northern Macedonia, our partner in the Master in Migration Management, laurea magistrale in gestione dei flussi migratori of the University of Sassari. And today's lecture will be, I'm going to share the screen right now. Just a minute. Okay, I think the screen is shared. I will check it. And today's topic is migrant crisis experience from Northern Macedonia. Please, Azis.
Thank you, Professor Kiriko. Thank you very much. I hope all of you have had some rest yesterday and after a long lecture. And now we'll start with this third lecture, which was planned to share with you. So, from the yesterday's presentations and our discussion, which were very lovely discussion with you and interaction with the students, which I am really proud of that, because interacting with the students is the the highest priority of the teachers and of the lecturers to do the lecture. So from the yesterday's lecture, I will just say that what was the main aim of the lecture. First, within this program, you know that migration is interdisciplinary subject, and is the health aspects of the migrant, let's say, health of migrants is one of the topics within the curricula of the subject of the master program. And we have said yesterday that that's why this topic cannot be covered or completed only through one consolidated syllabus, because it is ongoing process, starting from the beginning of the migration, let's say, as a phenomenon which has been always in the old civilizations, which has had a different motivation and different reasons, but the people moves always from the beginning of the civilization. So that's why. But with the time, it changes, and motivation, and the reasons, and problems which is coming with that. And we said that in the beginning, or in the New Year's history, migrations and migrants has been taken as a healthy persons, as a healthy people, and they change and move from one place to another place to find a better life, better chances, better opportunities for their lives and for their families. And although they enter immediately to the process of the economy of other states, and more or less it was some kind of win-win position, and for those who accepted them, and for those who moved in their countries. So it was interesting, and from that point of view. Now, with the time, migration has to be the polarization of the world, and some countries, of course, that become poorer than they ever before. They are informed about what's going with the globalization and the communication within the new technologies, and of course that migrants now are not something, or not only taken as a healthy community. Why? Because they are coming from the countries where the economic situation is not good, where the health systems are failing to fulfill their obligations, even their constitutional obligation for them, and of course because they are not ready to undertake all measures to prevent some preventable diseases which are linked with vaccination, with other procedures in this public health aspect. And that's why now health, because of that, is becoming a very big problem which has to be solved within the context of migrants, which are migrants and refugees, as we said. That refugees are coming so from the countries which have been destroyed, which has lost their subjectivity and the responsibility to safeguard their citizens because of the war, because of the dissolution of the states and so on. And refugees, which they have their countries, but they moved from another place because of different reasons, let's say economic, political, or other reasons. And those migrants now, of course, that they have different health problems, which are linked with, I have just said, so with lack of the fulfillment of their needs in their countries and the lack of preventive measures, vaccination, and so on and so forth. And now, host states or state of destination where they go or they pass through some countries, more or less is facing the need to deal with the needs of migrants, health needs of the migrants, not only the other needs, but we are talking now about the health needs. In order to fulfill this let's say, humanitarian and international obligation to give to the migrants the right to health services, of course, that some countries are ready to do this. Some health systems are not ready to address these problems and to deal with the health needs of the migrants, and that's why they are suffering and they do not get the rights which belongs based on international laws. In this sense, of course, the aim of the lecture and of the program is how to identify the problems and to push countries to push them really to strengthen their health systems in order to address this issue properly and on time for the sake of the needs of the migrants. And we said in the second lecture that one of the main obstacles and problems which is connected with health and quality of health services is the communication. So if those who are giving the health services and those who are waiting for their help, of course, if they don't understand each other, not only language, but and their cultural backgrounds, their cultural and other aspects of their traditional lives in their state, it could come or may come to the problems which is paid by those who are receiving the health services even with their life. Why? Because in literature there are a lot of misunderstandings and a lot of lawsuits and other aspects. Why? Because the two sides didn't know each other languages or cultures and have to take sometimes some measures which are not which will be always, as I said, matter of misunderstandings, of lawsuits, and so forth. That's why I think that yesterday we discussed this more or less too, and through your discussions we have really explored and some of other and discussed shortly and some of other aspects which are really linked with migrants and today's aspect of the migration and migration flows and behavior and the politics of the different countries, even and of the European Union towards migrants crisis, which is something which is going on, and maybe we are waiting for maybe a better response or more harmonized response towards this problem, because the humanitarian laws and existing laws, not only which are now ongoing in the process of adaptation, but an existing law are obliged every country really to behave based on a humanitarian law as a general ground for solution of this crisis. So, and today, I choose one topic which is all based on a data I show you. It's not new, but for me and of course for the migrant experience and for the context of migrant experience, can be used as a motivation or as an example how a situation or how was situation and mentality of the people when the migrant crisis started in 2015, and how was the response of my country at that time to these needs, which is very similar and to other countries in the region, let's say in this part of the Europe, so in the Balkans. And from that, of course, to take some messages, how we have and what were the shortcomings and what were the elements which have caused this kind of mentality and of behavior at that time, and what we need to do in this context to improve the situation and not to become in the same situation which was experienced at that time. So in 2015, of course, I showed yesterday, just for those who are not familiar, not informed where my state country is. It's Macedonia. Skopje is capital of North Macedonia now. Let's say it's a new name before the two years. So we are now here. Macedonia, of course, is here, and this is geography. And there are structure, ethnic structure, and the religion, cultural structure with some other development indicators. Just in order to say for which country and for which are proposition of this situation in this country. So you can see that it is a small landlocked country. So we do not have sea around us. So it's our sea more or less we used to go. So in Albania or in Greece or in Bulgaria or elsewhere, but Macedonia is a landlocked country, small, about, you can see how many people and square meters we have. But it's more or less in population and territory like Sardinia, let's say. But the form is not long, but a little bit more compressed. So those are our pictures which are taken. This is from Greece, of course, because as I said, we do not have a sea. But those are pictures taken from the border in Macedonia. So it was one of the main routes, let's say, which you have problem with Lampedusa, with Mediterranean route, Spanish route. So from Spain, and of course the Balkan route was very intensive, let's say, route of migration. And as we are in the center of the Balkan and in the crossroads of this Balkanic roads, so of course the people which do not plan to use Macedonia as a destination place where they would like to stay, to go and to stay. But they are, Macedonia is in their path route to the Europe, and they have to pass through Macedonia. But having obligation and harmonizing policies with the European Union, of course that we sometimes reacted based on these obligations, but the reaction, of course, that is not very acceptable. And to say, and other thing is that which is very characteristic, maybe only for Macedonia and for countries which are so in the north of Macedonia, so Serbia and Kosovo, of course, and for Albania as well, that we are in our countries, the refugees formally are coming from the European Union, because Greece is a member of the European Union, and they are coming through, let's say, sea from other places. It may be from Turkey, from Lebanon, or from other places, south, from Libya, or from, I don't know from where, but all of them entering the European Union, Italy or Greece, in this case Greece, and they have to, even those who are going through Bulgaria, but Bulgaria is very much blocked, and they use this weak point, let's say, in Macedonia, entering, and formally, as I said, practically they are not from Greece citizens, of course, but formally they are entering in our country from EU member state.
May I ask a question
Yes.
about this? Yesterday we spoke about the externalization of the immigration issue,
Yes.
but we clearly connected it to let's solve the problem there to prevent them from coming here.
This is externalization.
Yeah, but I'm wondering, since formally the refugees that you receive
Yes.
are I wouldn't say European refugees, but in a way they are European because they come from Europe. Could that also be included in the externalization? So sending them back somewhere else?
Yes, it is in our discourse, political discourse, and the daily, let's say, news, maybe sometimes and fake news. So there is a discussion that somebody in the European Union want to use those non-EU countries, in the Balkans, a kind of retention centers, and to create, to give money, of course, to the countries, but to keep the people in Serbia, in Macedonia, in Kosovo, in Bosnia, so because they are countries, and in Albania, of course. Now we have an Afghan, but this is a plan, so more or less this is something which has been agreed with the United States. Some migrants from Afghanistan, which are leaving their country because of their former cooperation with the American army there, and they really are. There is a feeling of fear that yes, our country can be used for this purpose, and of course that the rumors and the stand of let's say of the population is very much against of that, and more or less this is against, not because it could be somehow a place where it could stay, but everybody is afraid that this number can be very big, and that small countries in the Balkan, maybe it's not very true to say, or it's not, I have no very so clear argument to say. But all of them are behaving more or less with xenophobia, let's say. Because the people in the Balkan are not xenophobe, but historically all of them are small countries and suffer from somebody who came from outside in the history, in the past, And so every foreigners, every people which come from outside, they are more or less perceiving as a threat for their national identity, not only for security or not only for other things, but a threat for national identity, which is very difficult, more or less, has been established in these new states. And in essence, they are very xenophobic, not to say and other words, But as I said, and the reaction in population sometimes, almost, not for all of people, but the biggest part of people is very against that you mentioned. But the possibility exists, and the wish, even more, of some European politicians are thinking about that. But there is no yet official position on that, and nobody says that yes, this is true, because they are afraid of the reaction of population, and more or less this is something which is now just in informal discussions and not clear what will happen. But as a possibility, yes, it can be a kind of, you pointed out very well, excellent, so a kind of externalization of the migrants. So because those countries are not inter-European Union, they are out. So, and other measures exist, but this is one of those which are dealing, or could be dealt with we'll see. So, just some figure to see that in 2006, how many people arrived from about 1 million people, so from Greece and passing through, as you can see, through Macedonia. It's about maybe from the first border to the last where we entered to Serbia, is about not more than 200 kilometers. Because Macedonia is 200 kilometers and more or less 220 in the horizontal. So, and a lot of people, they suffered a lot. Some of them have lost their life because, so with trains, with everything which at that time was possible. And so this is a structure of people which have, so how many people are so adult people and children, 33% were children in this sense. So nationality of an origin of nationalities. So Syrians are almost, Afghans are not very small number, from Iraq, and other remaining 5%, Iranian, Palestinians, Pakistan, Somalia, and so on. Women and children, of course, is composed about 64% of the refugee flow, which creating a very fragile situation, because the women and the children, of course, they are more fragile, especially children, which they need special and care, of course, but in health care and health services, which created at that time very big problem. So these days, as you can see, you know, how many days last this from the Syria towards Turkey, and of course passing the Aegean Sea, which some of them are the route takes much more longer. You can imagine the family with the children and with the women and everything they have had in their homes. They are so spending about 2 months just to come to Greece, and from there Greece has accepted a lot, especially Lesbos is one of the island. Lesbos is one of the most populated now, even enough. That's why the Pope is visiting again. He has been once, you know, in Lesbos, and he will go very soon now again. I have just listened from the news. Why? Because there is yet the very concentrated number of refugees and waiting for better future. Who knows what will happen, but their wishes so in this direction. So as I said, and our police and the police structure, their behavior at that time was very let's say harsh, or very tough, or very taking measures which are really not characteristic of the civilized level of civilization, let's say, of European citizens and states, of course. But anyway, they have lost everything, and they insisted. That's why, despite the reactions and the very forced actions, the refugees moved north, and of course they continue. Some of them now are in Macedonia, very few, not very big number, but every day is coming somebody, you know. And after that, in Serbia there is some center, and in Bosnia is the situation much more worse in this moment, because Croatia is is dealing very, as well, again, very very aggressive towards them. So that's why I mean that is yet the problem is existing. The solution for the problem remains to be really to deal with that, and because, as I said, and yesterday we discussed about that it's not a matter that one country can take some special measures or to do something which is which only can solve from a humanitarian aspect one very problematic humanitarian moment for somebody, or for instance for children. But this problem cannot be solved in this way. So there is need comprehensive and inclusion of all factors, especially the main factors of the European Union, even and wider than the European Union, in order to take a stand about that and to solve this problem properly. So, of course, that just I put this slide to say that, climate change now have impact in the migration, which should not forget this fact, because sometimes climate change has impact in some cases which dry seasons or flows and something like that really influence to worsen the situation and to rise the poverty of these communities in different places, because the effect of climate change now is much more clear, which is in which direction it's going. That's why I think just to have in mind. Of course, that as I said, there are a lot of statements, a lot of documents, a lot of approaches in dealing and addressing this issue, but unfortunately there is not yet common policy and clear actions which should be taken in this sense. But the health of the migrants again remains in the center of this problem, because it is the most sensitive. It has to be dealt with the elementary needs of the population of this part of community, and the states and the institution and international institutions which are part of this action should be more active, and should health systems be prepared really to respond to these needs. This is something which is elementary needs, and after that all other solutions dealing with their destiny, to stay or not to stay, to include them in the health system, to include them in the education system, to include them in the labor market in the different countries, to train them for the languages, to train them to create this ambient of multiculturalism, let's say, so to know for each other much more and better, and somehow to start the process of toleration, tolerance, the process of understanding with each other, and somehow, as I said, because the number is very big, the flows are very high, and having in mind now and corona pandemic, which we are facing these 2 years, this problem is much more bigger. It's becoming much more bigger, much more sensitive, much more risky, and needs additional efforts to deal and health problems connected with the coronavirus, because infected patients needs and prevention, which means vaccination and special still of life in their homes, where they are gathering or not, how they are living. But if they are infected, and treatment, of course, is very expensive, is very problematic, because the hospitals are very so they're very occupied with patients which are in the homeland. So, and the problem how to deal with that when we have a big number, always has been problem. And of course, that we know that now that a lot of migrants maybe have lost their life because, like in others, because not only them, but because the hospitals cannot give the right support and treatment for all of this. So that's why I think that, what was my intention because now, to be honest, when I show you the map, where is Macedonia and where is Sardinia, and it's maybe somehow for somebody can become strange. For Macedonia, which is very far, and Sardinia, they now find their common language and to cooperate somewhere, in some way. Of course, we have had with our friends here, with Professor Repubblica, with Professor Salvatore, some meetings which were not at that time linked with this problematic, but having in mind, in meantime, the migrant crisis as so blow up, has started, and this problem even now and the pandemic later, and we saw that we have really more or less common problem, because in Sardinia, Italy, this part of Italy has problem with migration and migrants flows and refugee maybe, and our country, which was not previously so characterized with this kind of developments, is becoming the problem. And looking from what happens in 2015 and how the not only the population but and state agencies reacted to this problem, we said that there is something wrong for my country. You have more experience. You are bigger state, and this sea is always as an open door to move people easily. But what was my concern? That the reaction in East Macedonia and in other countries there was only based from the security point of view. Only policemen reacted. All of them are supporting what the police is doing in the border, and the treatment of the refugees has been taken only from the police point of view, not as a common problem, not as something which have to be discussed and solved adequately, because the migration, we have to understand, as I said, it starts from the beginning of civilizations. Before they move for different reasons, but now it's something which is for us as this big number as a new element, new factor, and we couldn't solve this only through the police perspective, only from the security point of view. We have to deal with this in more complex way, and mainly we have to educate our people to understand, to create this feeling of compassion towards those who are in a moment in a different in difficult situation, and to push people to think differently and to be more, let's say, to have more understanding, and to push the governments really to be part of this, let's say, this coalition for more humanitarian and more realistic approach and solution towards migration. Because politically, yet now you have this populism in Europe, which, for instance, in France is yet very high because they are coming closer to elections. But in Germany, in 2016-17, when there were elections, one party which was against migrants, they won a lot of places. But after that, now they are down, because it was really the German people understood that this is not solution. We cannot recreate the feelings which are coming with claustrophobia, xenophobia, xenophobia, and even with racism, you know, because from that you can start and to think about in the racist manner of thinking, and it is very dangerous. And in Germany, this party now lost, you know, they have disappeared, collapsed, more or less, and which is for me is very high. And logical understanding of the people, which reacted to this problem properly, but now we need to widen this coalition in this direction, and to move towards proposals and solutions which will be more accepted. In order to achieve this, we said that creating a joint program, so based on this quota, that migration is not problem, it is a process, you know. We agreed with Sassari University, with Professor Perico and Professor Salvatore, that we have to do this joint program in order to share our experiences, let's say, to work together and to discuss together in order to change the mentality a little bit, and to help governments to adapt different attitudes for this issue, and really to find more acceptable and pragmatic solution for that. I think that this is the main reason, one of the initiators, because the universities are always looking for new programs based on the new needs of labor market, needs of global processes, needs of maybe of strategical concept of state development and so on. But this master program has been seen as a solution, and for the existing problem, which is now becoming a global problem, and impact of our country is unavoidable. And that's why we are happy to work with you, to work together with professors here and professor from Skopje, from Mother Teresa University, in order to contribute as much as academia can contribute and can do, with fact, with arguments, with other elements which is our tool, so argument and facts, to impose another spirit, another approach to this problem. And I promise you, or with this speech, I can just present some of the views of the sites of Skopje. It is capital. This is not Skopje. This is Ohrid. Professor Perico was there. It's a very old church in the most beautiful place of in the lake. The lake of Ohrid is one beautiful lake. And this is Mother Teresa, because our university has the name is Mother Teresa. Why? You know, Mother Teresa is now Saint Mother Teresa of Calcutta. Yes, and she was born in Skopje. Her house is in Skopje, and she is from Skopje, you know. And she from Skopje left Skopje when she was maybe 20 years and went to Ireland, become a nun. And after that, she created this order of Mother Teresa for help of the sick people. But she is her name is Gonja Boyajiu, you know, her original name, which is Gonja's flower in Albanian, because she is Albanian descent. So ethnically she is Albanian from Catholic faith. So this is a house which was built now in honoring its contribution to the civilization. This is a St. John from Ohrid. This is a mosque which is heritage for the Ottoman Empire, and in Skopje there are more than 20 of mosques, you know, because about 30% of Skopje are, or maybe a little bit more, about 30% are of Muslim tradition. This is a Jewish memorial center in Skopje. At that time, before the Second World War, there was a quark with Ottoman style, with Albanian and Turkish, Jewish and Macedonian Orthodox in other side. So it was one composition, very, very beautiful composition of the reality of which we have there. And this is a bridge, so stone bridge we call, which is the symbol of Skopje in the center, and river Vardar. The river is Vardar. It's quite big, but not very deep, you know. And this is connected to parts, which in one part dominate, for instance, this kind of heritage. In the center are, as I said, Catholics and Jewish only memorial center, but the Jewish didn't left a lot. So there are very few Jewish in Macedonia because they have been sent in Treblinka at the time of Second World War, and few of them now are living in Skopje, and some of them, of course, fled to Israel. And this connects, and the bridges, you know, bridges are always the place where not only you can bridge the water, but then to connect the people. And now the connection of the people in Macedonia is not only with physical bridges, but there are other bridges. So we have the same destiny, we have the same vision of despite the national belonging and ethnic belonging, and we create this sense of unity within this diversity, like is an European Union. How we say this main unity through diversity is a process, is a methodology of becoming oneness, to come to the oneness. And I think that's why Macedonia is very attractive. It's very pleasant place, small place, but very pleasant place with excellent people who had a lot of rivers, a lot of water, clean water, and the ambient is very clean. So I just wanted to propaganda to my country, but the idea is really to make you to give you some information, and why not one day or during the summer we can organize and you can visit Skopje and University Mother Teresa. Now I will leave some the time for question, and please.
Yeah. So considering your experience, what do you think is the best model of integration for Europe? Because we see that in Europe actually we use different types of integration model, like multicultural integration model or intercultural integration model. So like France, for instance. So what do you think, based on your experience, what's the best model for Europe?
Azis, could you repeat the question so that our friends from Pristina and Skopje will be able to hear the question?
Yes, yes. I got the question from
Alessio.
Alessio. He asked which is the best method or best model of integration in Europe, you say, or in my country?
Yeah, considering also your experience.
Also in Europe and my country, and having in mind the models of multiculturalism, models of interculturalism, and so on and so forth. Yes, this is a question for those who are following us through the link. So tomorrow in Stintino, I have a presentation again speaking about the interculturalism in the case of experience of Macedonia. You know that before there was a lot of models, let's say, maybe some of them theoretical models of interaction among the different entities, communities, and so on. They are starting from hegemony. After that, so one big nation want to dominate another, as assimilation. So it's slowly changing of their characteristics and getting those who are in majority, acculturalism, and so on and so forth. And after that, it was propaganda and started to think about the multiculturalism as a model of existence, of coexistence in Europe. And as a result, and multiculturalism resulted in a way somehow as a bypassing period for assimilation. Some small nations, they accepted this as an assimilation. Why? Because multiculturalism is big culture tolerate small culture to develop their privately and publicly in some cases their cultural characteristics, but they should adapt to the big nation. And this is what Merkel says, the multiculturalism is possible, not possible, and so on, which is, of course, one way, and this is more or less a characteristic of this is United States, where they say to this a melting pot. So United States of America is composed by the different people come from different, they have all of them put it in one pot, you know, and they melt them and now become a soup which nobody can know from which is, and soup is Americanism, you know, and so it's functioning for all of them, which is melting pot, let's say, phenomenon. And in the reaction to this, and having in mind the recent development and awareness of new nations, because what is integration, for instance, in Europe, because it is more or less problematic in Europe, not in other places, you know. In Europe, maybe in some places in center of Asia, where the population is almost based, the structure of state is based on a tribes characteristics. So you have Afghan now, Hazara and Pashtun, which are both Muslims, but one is Shia, one is Sunni, and so on, and they have some specific characteristics. But Europe, which is built on diversity or unity through diversity, has opened now the discussions. What is a model which can preserve diversity and not be assimilated? And now they start, that's why I have a slide here, but for tomorrow maybe I can open here, but it's not easy maybe. Start the theory of interculturalism. And difference from interculturalism and multiculturalism is that in interculturalism everybody keeps his main characteristics, but everybody gives something. So, and big gives something to the, so in order to accept, let's say, to leave place for the minorities, and minorities, they will keep their characteristics, but of course, and they should be ready to give something in order to create this cement of social cohesion. Because without this cement, so always if you want to take something, really integration means, and you have to be ready and to give something. And this is called, in difference from multiculturalism, interculturalism, which means that everybody can preserve their basic ethnic characteristics, but ready, of course, and to give something and to get something from them. And for nowadays, this is more accepted model which is dominating in Europe, because the philosophy of creating unity in Europe is everybody wants to create. Even now, from cultural aspect, it's not problem, but it is problem when you become so and adapt this in the political context. We discussed yesterday, for instance, a problem of Macedonia. Why Macedonia and Albania cannot be member states? Because some bilateral issues with Greece before and now with Bulgaria are not based in interculturalism. They say that we are older and you become after us and we are your fathers. You are your children, our children, you know. They cannot understand the fact that, yes, nations, some of them are older and some of them are newer. So, and as Anderson says, that nations are emerging communities. So they are product of a certain context, historical context, geopolitical context in sometimes, and some of them are new, and you can accept them like they want to be called. So if you are, let's say, Macedonian, you can. Bulgarian says that you are not Macedonian, you are descendant of Bulgarians. So you are not your language is not Macedonian. It is dialect of Bulgarian, and you have to accept this in political papers, because the debate in scientific ambient can, yes, the scientists that they argue, you know, between them, but it cannot be now a political issue for integration. and this we call misusing of their power, being a member of club. You know, this is problematic, and this is a Balkan. You know, Balkan is always raised the issue and has been in the past very irrational, and sometimes irrational aspects is difficult to solve rationally. You have to be rational in solution in order to solve irrational situations. And this is something, so to conclude, so for me, and not because I am author of this, but because I am following the literature and what's going on, interculturalism is more acceptable, having in mind and philosophy in which father founders has said that Europe should be united through diversity. It means everybody should give something, but everybody should preserve and so basic elements of their nation. Of course, now the dilemma which creates this scientific and anthropological attitude and conclusion is if you took this and translate this in a political language and in a political action, how it would look like. So, and this is the duty of politician now to really to deal with that very, very clever and very, very carefully. This could be one of my opinion. So, if I will appreciate if there is another contribution from you.
Me?
No, for everybody. For everybody. So if
as usual, I have questions, but I don't want to impose. So can I? Okay. I have a question. A lot of what you said is, from my understanding, is very much connected to the management of violence in a country, no?
Mm-hmm.
Through the police, through the army. So it's in a way a problem is how to manage violence and at the same time protect, let's say, the borders. Okay. So while you were talking, I was thinking about what has happened in Italy during the last, I would say, something like 20 years. We have two forces, okay, in Italy. There's the police force with different units and organizations, and there's the army, okay? So what is very interesting from my point of view is that if we think about the communication of the Ministry of Defense during the last 20 years in Italy, the communication is about an army that serves the people, that is a helping hand for our friends abroad. Okay? And this has not happened the same way with the police force. So I'm wondering if it is the police of the army that is patrolling the border in your country, and if there is the same perception by people, is the police, in general, a forceful good, or it is the people who beat up the migrants? I have no idea how is that, how the perception is from the population side.
Yeah, I think that the duty of army and duty of police is defined by the constitution of every country and laws, which are deriving from the constitution, of course, and based on a new organization, a new concept of defense, all NATO member states, and of democracy, let's say, and border now is in the control of police. Because before, I remember in Yugoslavia, when it was a communist system, border was defended by army, not by police. Now we have this border police, we call. So in sectors, border police and police, traffic police and so on. And I think that police is body for enforcement, law enforcement institution. And so they will follow the orders. What order they will give and what kind of measures. They have this classification of risks, first level, second level, third level, programs and so on. They are the professionals which are doing this. And they are reacting on orders they're given, and they are law enforcement body. And it's normally that when you engage the special force, somebody in my country says that they are not Baletans, When somebody says that they will come, the special force, you have to know that they will use force, even and normal police, because it's enforcement instrument, so law enforcement instrument, so tool. And that's why I think that it's not matter, so it's clear that borders should be controlled by police. Of course, that in case of Macedonia, in order we didn't have a lot of people or of policemen which can control this amount of law, you know. And army was engaged not to react, but in order to keep somehow the regular, you know, to keep order in the border, just temporary and based on a law, because we adopt the law for emergency, you know, because you have emergency, and when you have earthquake, when you have flows and so on, there is a proposition that you can give the order and the law or something else which can engage an army in certain needs, because they are more mobilized, more in other manner functioning and so on. I'm not expert in this field, but I'm just relying on what the laws are saying and in practice. So, of course, the police is not to beat migrants, you know, but the engagement of police is to obey the rule, the law, you know. And if the law says that you have to stop this, and if there is no possibility to stop in other way, you will stop with force. And which means sometimes the uses of excessive force and so on. But that's why I'm saying that the problem of migrants, another problem, and social problem, cannot be solved only through police logic and police engagement. It should be taken wider social measures which are starting from education, from NGOs dealing with the human rights. Media are very, very important, and of course, and economy, because sometimes you need every right is costed, you know, something, and so it's very, very complex situation. But that's why we are here to discuss all those things. Thank you.
There are a few questions from Mimosa.
Okay.
Maybe I'll read them on the microphone so she will be able to hear. Okay, one is about whether the Republic of Northern Macedonia has got a migrant integration policy. So because most of the migrants are actually crossing Northern Macedonia and going to Europe, but coming from Europe sometimes and going through Europe. What is your opinion? Is it Macedonia ready for such a policy to integrate migrants inside the country or not? Is it prepared for such a policy or not? And the other question, which is somehow linked, is you mentioned the melting pot of the United States. But does this kind of melting pot exist also in Macedonia, or are there, I mean, among residents, because there are that kind of division between the Macedonian and Albanian ethnic groups?
First I will answer because it's earlier, very quicker, so easier to answer the second question. So, yeah, Macedonia is not melting pot. Macedonia has a practice of Macedonian salad, that somebody knows. So, and it is written in the constitution. The main paragraph is that Macedonia is a multi-ethnic country and has its provisions to guarantee avoidance of majorization. So to took decisions in some laws and in some constitutional amendments not to be changed only with pure majority of one side, because in this sense you can you can adopt laws which are against minority. So we have constitutional provisions that for some laws and constitutional amendments, double majority needs to be voted. If, for instance, one law or changing of constitution is voted by the one ethnic group, which is majority, in order to adopt it, needs a majority of those who are not majority, of minorities, where the Albanians are mostly some Turks and others, you know, the Bosniaks and Roma and so on. So they cannot be entered into force if and a minority majority of majority from minority is so accepted. So shortly, Macedonia salad remains to be very delicious and very good for even for eating and as a solution. So the first one.
Yeah, I have to stress because this question about the melting pot was not posed by Mimosa, but by Rina Marion Rama.
Okay, I welcome. No problem. Yes, okay. But of course, I said to Mimosa that maybe we have to meet in Pristina or in Kosovo, and we can discuss it further and to explain. But this is more or less what Macedonia is not creating its social cohesion through melting pot philosophy. It's more interculturalism, giving and taking something in both sides, which is not going very easy. It's going very difficult. But there is no other solution. Macedonia is defined in the constitution as a multi-ethnic country, and it has to be reflected in all other provisions and solutions dealing with and to preserve this multiculturality and multi-ethnicity. This is.
Do you have a system like in Lebanon, for instance, that each
posts
should be shared between different?
Not like that. We have this double majority solution for the laws, but always in the government are both main communities, so Macedonian and Albanians, who will be where? It matter of political opinion. Now, for instance, the president of the parliament is Albanian, you know. The prime minister and president are Macedonian, but it was not written in the constitution. It's the political agreement in this sense.
Okay.
So why? Because, as I said, everybody who has majority wants to be functional. They need to include another majority from minorities in order to get votes and laws voted, because they are linked with double majority. And about the first question, so having in mind, because migrants, Mimosa has its idea for our citizens, for our diaspora, let's say, is one question, because it's not precise for which migrants she thinks. So for other diaspora is one question, and now for migrants which are coming recently, and that is a matter of our discussion. No, we do not have such. There are some attempts, there are some just policy papers and discussions, but North Macedonia do not have yet the document and the strategic document which shows how to integrate or what to do with the immigrants and how to do this. Unfortunately, this will be something which can be the topic where our center and our master program and students we can discuss, and maybe we can contribute to this point.
Thank you. Thank you for the response also
Thank you.
From Rina. Any other questions from the audience?
Yes.
Okay, strictly connected, sorry, my voice is not that loud. Strictly connected to the integration and inclusion is radicalization. Okay, so it's proven that in countries in which there are laws on how to integrate and include people, like migrants, if they disappoint them, then radicalization comes out. While in Italy, for example, we don't have any kind of law that establish how we have to integrate or include migrants. So we don't have this kind of problem. There are some sociological European studies about it. So my question is, do you have this kind of problem that is radicalization in Macedonia?
radicalization based on migrants, I think that there is no such a situation. Why? Because everybody knows, and it is so common understanding, that the migrants are not, their destination is not Macedonia. So they want just to pass through our territory and to go to Europe, because they know even our people are leaving Macedonia for the same purpose, but not in the same manner. Because we have visa liberalization, we go legally in Germany, in all Europe, you know, even in Italy. We have about, in Italy, from Macedonia are about 400, not 400, but about 400 are totally people living in mostly in Treviso, in this part of Italy, up in North Italy, from Macedonia. And we do not have this result, as a result, radicalization of the situation, political situation, as I said, because nobody is threatening somebody's working place, so somebody's comfort, somebody's rights, all of them, and we know that they came there, they are coming there, and just to pass. Somebody has succeeded to go in Serbia, somebody is staying in the two centers we have in Macedonia, which the number is not very big, so. And everybody is waiting how to move from there, you know. Some of them, maybe they ask for asylum, I didn't know so figures exactly, but the main characteristic is that they are not, that Macedonia is not destination for migrants, and that on this basis they cannot raise the question of radicalization, because there is no substance about that. You know, that's for now is this situation. In future, I don't know.
But on the other way, you mentioned once, I remember when I was in Skopje, that there is an increasing amount of money that is coming to Northern Macedonia to establish new mosques, for instance, and to support the Islamic community.
Yeah. Yes,
the conservative, mostly conservative.
Yes. It's true. As I said, it's more or less is linked with geopolitical development in the region. So when our integration in European Union is really very slow, and we have a lot of problems in this process. There is a long period of waiting, you know, and when you have this more or less vacuum, because to wait 15 years to be candidate, you know, and not to start the negotiation, because nobody knows when we will be part, but just to start negotiations, there is a feeling of non-perspective. There is a feeling of question to somebody: do Europe needs us? They don't like us or don't like us, so, and the lack of perspective and this vacuum is fulfilled by the other ideologies, which are coming from the East, for instance. And one among them, so the influence of Russia is rising, especially in Serbia, but of course, and in Montenegro, especially, and in Macedonia, but it's rising. The influence of China as well, and influence of some radical Islamist state. Maybe they are not radical there, but they have this attitude of radicalization, of very radical approach towards Balkan states. One of them is, of course, and Turkey and Qatar and Saudi Arabia, and they are imposing, or let's say, showing this, or with some measures. One of them is really building, to build a mosque, so the place of where the people can serve and so. It's not a problem, but to build a mosque and where there is no need, or only big mosques, only big minarets, you know, or instead of one minaret they build 2 minarets or 3, and there is no school in the village. Sometimes there are contradiction, which brings us to the idea that there is no their problem is not to promote and to preserve cultural, let's say, tradition, but to influence and some other elements which can, in this case, where the religion is used for political purposes, which has in the roots are hegemonic economic and political hegemony in the region. Why? Because the process of integration is more or less, let's say, stopped somehow or going very, very slow. That's why we are asking for solution, quicker solution of the situation, and starting negotiation in order not to leave anymore this kind of space, vacuum space, because like in nature and in sociology there is no vacuum. If you are not there, somebody will come, which you are not planned to see so, but this is a reality.
Which is somehow what is happening, what has happened already in Turkey. In Turkey, if we had integrated, I think this is my opinion.
Yeah.
If we had integrated in Europe,
Right.
Turkey 20 years ago,
Yes.
Tayyip Erdogan would not be the leader of Turkey. And so their position, I remember that when the first Turkish students were coming here with Erasmus program, they were so, open and European, I would say.
May I make a contribution? I'm sorry.
Yes.
I think, I understand your point, but the selection of Erdogan and all the political situation, turmoil, I would say, in Turkey, is more deeper than just like, it goes back way before 20 years ago. So I don't agree with you in that point, because I personally think that Turkey is, it's not possible for us to actually be European. We are traditionally, the idea of a united Europe is like goes back way like almost 200 years ago it started. So I think like we are traditional enemies in the sense of being a Muslim state and having such a different culture and everything. So I don't think the integration of the Turkey will be possible at the first place. Yeah.
Okay.
And not only 20 years ago. This is what I want to say.
It's I'm telling about my own opinion. I have hosted several students from Turkey, from Ankara, from Istanbul, and also from southern part of Turkey, close to the border of Syria, and I found them really having a European attitude and a very strong desire to be part of Europe. And during the last year, I saw that even the attitude of students has changed very much. And I think this is a kind of cultural change deriving from the sense of frustration. But I'd say this is my
of course.
opinion based on my own experience.
We do not know details about it, but the fact is that yes, there is a shift of ideological direction, but in Turkey there is yet a very, very, very big group and very important portion of students and intellectuals which are in a European, oriented towards European values. But of course the state is creating another policies, and it has measures really to determine some positions. But as I said, it is one of those who has some vision how to let's say to spread its influence in the region, and they call this we know this as a neo-Ottomanism, as a type of neo-Ottomanism. But it's not only because there is as I said, and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and Iran, especially, and all of them has some they're similar intentions. But for us, we cannot stop them to do what they think that for them is okay. You know, always my position was that why we are not doing and why Europe is not doing what we need to do in order to not to stop these ideologies cannot be stopped with army or with police. You know, we have to do this through the process of integration, practical integration in the European Union. If you don't do this, if you stop to move towards the European Union, of course, that other forces which has other agenda and maybe ideologies, of course, they will replace this, or they will take this vacuum. But this is, as I said, Balkan is problem. Two wars started in Balkan, and First and Second World War. And so why? Because it is the route for the hot waters, you know. And so it's always interesting and linking Europe and Asia and Middle East, so energy resources, and up you have Russia. You cannot push Russia, so of course that this channel is always more available in this sense. But I think that that the situation is more or less not so tragic. But if Europe will continue to think like that and to stay in this position, it really we can have at least not results which we expect to have, and not because we are they are doing something or trying to impose their policies, but because we are not doing enough, especially Europe is not taking this in consideration with high priority. This is something which is important to know in this sense. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, because we are to conclude these lectures, I will give a small gift from university to Professor Kiriko. It's our sign, and to the program, which is Mother Teresa. This is this is Mother Teresa's scarf, you know. And so this is symbol. Kiriko, thank you very much. And
Thank you so much.
maybe I would like now, if it's possible, to have a family picture together, all together.
Of course.
Is
We
it
will take
okay?
a picture.
I will take a picture.
You all.
Yeah. Now, no, we can go here or yeah. Yes. Yeah. I changed this photo now to the main. So, it's okay to this way? Yes? Okay. Please come. No? Okay. Professor, come here. Come here.
I'm sorry, I'm used to do this with Chinese people. So I do E-R San.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. But with you? With you photo in Skopje.
Oh, but I'm old. Oh, wait, I will take a picture of myself and then put it together.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So thanks you once again to all.
This is something.
Thanks a lot. And
E-R San.
Right?
to the students of the master, as Professor Azis Pollozhani has mentioned, I would like to stress the point that Skopje and Northern Macedonia is an extremely interesting country to visit and to stay for your own future profession. So I would really like to encourage you to apply for Erasmus fellowship, to go to Skopje and to spend 1 semester there. We have wonderful colleagues over there. Some of them you have already known, and because they are teaching now. And there is a very interesting situation and population, and also the environment, as Professor Pollozhani has told. So really do everything you can to apply and to go there and to stay there for 4-5 months, to spend, to take classes and to do your traineeship as well. So there are several possibilities both in the first year, first and second semester, in the first and second semester of the second year as well. So really take this opportunity to enlarge and to broaden your knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you. And